While Arsenal did not blow Ipswich away, they were overall very good in their 1-0 win to keep up tabs with Liverpool at the top of the league. Now, while it definitely could have been a better performance going forward, they still created a decent amount of chances. And in particular, I think the two fullbacks for Arsenal were exceptional all game in defence and more importantly in attack, which gave Arsenal this advantage. So let's look into it. Now, I don't think there's much doubt about it, but I think fullbacks are the most important position in football, at least for elite teams. They're the players that really dictate the tempo and how the team can play, and they're the ones that have to be exceptionally good at finding gaps within the team from a passing or running standpoint in order to create plus ones and create more chances going forward. They're more like the extra man in most situations you will see. Now, Arsenal played in this game back with Myles Lewis-Skelly and Jurrien Timber, which has been what we've been playing the last few games, which has worked very well. I think both of them play very similar to each other, and I think when Arteta first bought Jurrien Timber, he saw the Jurrien Timber and Zinchenko invertibility and ability on the ball, more importantly, that we're now seeing with Myles Lewis-Skelly, who has come in and is brilliant. Now, in this game, both of them played really well, and looking at their average positions, they were definitely in their triangles in attacking positions, but also in areas that came centrally a lot of the time. Now, one of the main reasons why this is important is because Myles Lewis-Skelly and Jurrien Timber will change up who inverts into the middle. This sees Myles Lewis-Skelly have the ability to run through the gaps because we know how good he is with that strength coming in. He was so good at keeping the ball with a lot of pressure around him, and he often gave Rice a forward movement run. Now, Timber, when he inverted, often came from that right back position because he usually would be the one in the back three, but it allowed him to get into areas where he was in that half space where Arsenal had given him that space with Odegaard coming out wide. Now, Timber can always pass this off to the right hand side, and he did a lot of the game, but in this game he also had that ability to run through the middle, and he is so quick and so determined, a bit like Myles Lewis-Skelly on the other side, where in the end he ends up having a shot from this situation, but it gets Arsenal up the pitch, and Arsenal really struggled, I think, against low blocks in particular, with players not bringing the ball up from just ball carrying. It's always passing too slow. Now, in the second half, we definitely saw a much bigger adaptation with Odegaard carrying the ball a lot more, which saw Arsenal do a lot better, but in the first half it was mostly the fullbacks doing it, which gave Arsenal a little bit more going forward. Now, sometimes I talk about tactics and they are really deep within the team, but sometimes the individual quality of players just make things look a lot more easier. Both players would come down to the width and just hold the ball brilliantly. Timber was so good in this game at just keeping sustained pressure on the ball, but also making sure that he could always keep it. Ultimately, it made people like Martinelli and Odegaard on his side be able to walk more into the middle because Timber was so comfortable out on the wing, and this kept giving chances to Arsenal down that side with a triangle, which I don't think was the best in this game because I think all of the players sort of struggled other than Timber there, but he was definitely more involved on the ball this game than off it, like we have seen other times when Saka had played before, which is going to be important with his time out, obviously with an injury. Now, in my opinion, I think the left side of this game, especially in that first half, worked a lot better than the right hand side, and I think it was because we were allowed to give our ball carrying players, i.e. the fullbacks, a lot more freedom on that side. Like I said, Timber and Myles Lewis-Skelly definitely offered different things, and both of them would invert and come into the middle. However, there was definitely more emphasis on giving Myles Lewis-Skelly the ball in them positions than Timber, probably because the Timber had to kind of play in that back three more than Myles Lewis-Skelly due to an experience and probably a defensive level, even though I think Myles Lewis-Skelly can do it brilliantly as well. And I don't think Rice in the first half made too many risks on the ball, and this made that someone had to basically do this. Myles Lewis-Skelly kept coming into the gaps in between the middle and was very confident with the ball. I think it shows a lot for the team to continually pass it to him in these situations, but he also did really well to bait the Ipswich players in and be able to turn them and run through. Not only does this movement and passing give Trossard some space on that side, but it also allows for Trossard to have one-on-ones in different situations. Myles Lewis-Skelly will overlap and create different movements in which we didn't actually need Jesus to come over all the time. We didn't need Rice to be in that position, even though he would sometimes, which gave that side a lot of responsibility. And I also think Trossard actually played quite well in this game. I think that he took some necessary risks in the final third that were needed, especially in one-on-one situations which were created for him, and I'm glad he didn't always try and do that easy pass which ended up getting us that goal that we won by. And now I definitely think there is some criticism maybe on the two fullbacks for Arsenal and their positioning negatively, because they do keep up with their central positioning in the final third. Sometimes they do go on the overlaps like I've said, and they're so brilliant out there, but they are mostly in that half space just in case someone breaks upon them, which is absolutely fine for different circumstances. But when you were getting Myles Lewis-Skelly in that position, I felt like he didn't really want to cross or shoot, which is nothing an issue with that. I think sometimes that's definitely definitely the right decision, but you kind of want players in that position that are going to be willing to cross and do them sort of things. And I think it was a lot more congested on the right hand side than the left to make that happen. So that's definitely something to think about. That is something that I think Calafiori probably exceeds a little bit over Lewis-Skelly, but I think defensively Lewis-Skelly is a lot more kind of confident and a lot more calmer than Calafiori in better positions. And that's what I mean by Myles Lewis-Skelly. Not only is he so significant on the ball that he'll keep it with 2 or 3 players around him, his strength is a major thing. Obviously how he positions himself I think is probably his best attribute, to be honest. It doesn't matter the size of a player, and sometimes there's players like Liam Delap against him where he will fight him, he will struggle to really get the best of him, which makes sense. Liam Delap is a lot bigger and taller than him, so you would expect that. However, the main thing is when you get into them defensive positions, just holding off players enough so players can come and cover you, and I think he did that really well, especially in that second half where he was just able to stop Ipswich really progressing on his side. There was a few times that Murray Hutchinson also came down as wing and just didn't really want to actually have a go at Myles Lewis-Skelly, because Lewis-Skelly has that strength and that weight of the ball that was much better, and I thought he really had his number against his winger and the attack today, which is brilliant. And couple that up with Timber, who I also thought had great positional awareness in defence and often stopped great counter-attacks happening with that, and I think there was one in the second half where he did really well to sniff out the danger, which I think definitely helped. And what I see between the differences between Timber and Myles Lewis-Skelly are that they are both very similar players. I mean, even how they control the ball, you watch them, they do seem kind of the same. How they swivel on it, how they look up for options, they do have the same sort of technique of each other. However, I believe Timber is much more of a pass heavy player, a little bit more than a ball carrier. Now obviously we saw that brilliant carry in the first half, he can do it to a brilliant level, but I do see him doing a lot more passes in between the lines than you probably will see with Myles Lewis-Skelly. Now maybe that is because of the positional factors and where we are playing them, with Timber being probably a little bit more deeper overall, or at least in a lot less space you could say than Myles Lewis-Skelly, which I think is fair enough. But Myles Lewis-Skelly can also do brilliant passing work. I think he'd do brilliant passes in between the lines if given the opportunity, but the role that he's given is much more that ball carrier, you know, run into the channel, take them risks on the ball and trying to keep your strength with it. And overall it does work because we can subsize it with the other one doing the other work and change it around a lot, and I think they do balance off each other an extremely amount. Now there is some games where I do think Arsenal need to risk him a little bit more, you know, put them in a bit more attacking positions, but we scored early in this game and we should have scored a couple of goals in the second half through some set pieces and things that aren't their necessarily issue, and I think you don't really want to take them risks in games like this, which I completely think is fair because the defense was top notch and they barely gave anything away the whole game. Now statistically you can see they had so much involvement of the game. Arsenal made a lot of passes, but Jurrien Timber made 69 out of 74 with a 93% completion rate, and Myles Lewis-Skelly made 58 out of 59, which some of his passes weren't necessarily not the hardest, but that is still a really good range to have. Not only that did MLS make 2 out of 3 successful dribbles, he made 3 passes into the final third, while Jurrien Timber also made 2 successful dribbles out of 2 and 10 passes into the final third, which not only shows their brilliant attacking level that they have, but they're also making the right decisions. They're not really giving the ball away, they're being very reliable in these situations and still creating a decent amount because they are not the primary creators at the end of the day, and they're just doing the job that they can around the players that should create more. Now defensively though, they are astonishing. They really didn't let anything get past them. They both made I think 7 recoveries combined, incredible amount of defensive actions, incredible amount of tackles, making 5 out of 7 between them as well, which is quite a lot of tackles which you don't see Arsenal defenders usually have, so they did brilliant in that metric. But more importantly, I think their duels are the most important thing with this team. Not only is their physical nature very important at keeping the ball when they have it in elevated positions, but also just like I said, delaying opportunities so the centre backs can come across and they can stop people countering on them. Obviously recoveries come a big way into this, but duels do as well, and they both won 9 duels and they only lost 2 and 3 respectively. And what was probably more incredible, that on the ground they won 16 out of 19 ground duels between the two of them, both winning 8 each. I think makes it incredible. They really both did fight, they do scrap these people every game, but they also don't lose their head. I think both of them are a little bit more composed than maybe Calafiori is right now, although I think Calafiori would probably add even more attacking stats if he was to play in this game. And that is the main thing I think is the great thing about this, is that Myles Lewis-Skelly was not expected to be a starter this quickly. He has come into the team, he's been incredible recently. 4 starts in the last 5 games, which I think we can all say he's been brilliant in every single one of them. Obviously, we know how great Timber has been this season. He's consistently been one of our best players, I believe. On the ball, he just looks so natural and he's just so great on that right-hand side. But this still leaves people like Calafiori to be part of the team. Now, Calafiori has been brilliant in a lot of games. Some games I think he struggled in, but it's always going to happen when you play so much and you just come into the league, which I think is fair enough. Calafiori adds what I see with Myles Lewis-Skelly in different ways. Maybe he's a little bit quicker, maybe a bit more aggressive going forward, I would say. Not afraid to necessarily have a shot or a cross compared to Myles Lewis-Skelly. But Myles Lewis-Skelly is definitely a bit more of an assured defender and a lot more braver, deeper, I think. Overall, this makes the 2 left backs that Arsenal have at the club right now, Myles Lewis-Skelly and Calafiori, I think brilliant options if both of them can stay fit. Now, this does warrant what is going to happen with the other millions of left backs we have on the bench. We had half our bench as left backs. You know, we've still got Tierney there, we've still got Zinchenko, still got Kivior, you know, all these players that simply, some of them have to leave in January or the summer, because I think going into the future, Myles Lewis-Skelly and Calafiori are the future long term. Overall, it was not the best performance by Arsenal by any means, but I do think there was a lot of improvements to be there without Saka. I think there is some issues with maybe some of the wingers, but I do think some players stepped up. I think Trossard had a relatively decent game. I think Havertz played really well, and the defense is the main thing we can lean on, which I have said before, and they were brilliant in this game. But overall, the 2 fullbacks are such a big attacking quality for Arsenal while also being a brilliant defensive quality. Their aggressiveness helps them be so good, I think, in every metric, and they're so quick and so able to cover ground, which makes Arsenal very important. Overall, let me know in the comments what you guys think, and I'll see you in the next one.